They told you the footage didn't exist, said the cameras weren't rolling, swore up and down the power had gone out minutes before. But you're seeing it now. Glitchy, grainy, almost like it's breathing on its own. A tight shot of a small, trembling hand clutching the handle of an old church door, knuckles white, skin like dark leather stretched thin over bone. It pushes open and the noise dies. A sudden, unnatural silence, the kind that feels like it's waiting to inhale you. What you're about to witness was never supposed to happen. What you're about to feel, no one was ever meant to carry. This isn't just a story. It's a confession buried in plain sight. There were 63 guests at the funeral of Bernard Elkins. 63 bodies, standing, sitting, milling. 63 faces wrapped in carefully curated grief, adjusted like neckties and hats, safe and respectable. The obituary called him a pillar of the community, a philanthropist, a war hero, a grandfather. But no one said what kind of man he was in the spaces in between. The quiet phone calls never returned. The nurses who didn't come back for the second shift. The granddaughter who stopped speaking when she turned 15. You can feel it in the way people shift in their seats. Something is wrong in the air. Not loud wrong, quiet wrong, like a smell you almost recognize from your childhood nightmares. But no one is saying it. They wouldn't dare. And then there's her. No one knows her name. No one wants to. She's sitting in the back row, next to the dusty radiator that breathes warm puffs of sour air. Her hat is black velvet, wide-brimmed, trembling as if it carries the weight of more than sunshade. Her gloves are lace, fine, southern, old. Her eyes don't scan the casket. They scan them, one by one, as if she's counting down, as if she's waiting. The room bends around her presence like gravity, ignored by effort, not accident. People glance, then glance away. She's not supposed to be here, that much is clear. But no one will say it, they never do. Her skin is the wrong color, her silence the wrong pitch. The funeral bulletin says, family only, but no one moves. To remove her. Maybe it's guilt, maybe it's fear, maybe it's the whispered memory of who she once was. The preacher begins his sermon with the usual lies. He was a good man. The room nods. He served his country. More nods. He loved his family. Nods. He was devoted to the Lord. A few soft amens, the kind that taste like iron. The woman in the back does not bow her head. She does not close her eyes. She's watching the preacher with a gaze that cuts bone. Her lips press tight, not in grief, not in reverence, in memory. There's a difference. Midway through the sermon, the heat kicks on and the chandelier above flickers. No one notices, except her and you. Then it happens, the moment that splits the world. A girl, no more than 3, wanders from the pews, tiny patent leather shoes squeaking against the polished floor. Her mother hisses, reaching too slow. The girl toddles past the first row toward the casket, then stops, dead still, turns, and points. That's not his real name, she says. Silence, the kind that rots your insides. The preacher stutters. The mother rushes forward, scooping the girl into her arms, whispering tight-lipped apologies. But the room has changed. Eyes flick toward the back row like magnets drawn to truth. The old woman hasn't moved. Her eyes, however, are wet now, not with tears, with fury, with justice. You don't notice it right away because you don't want to. But there's one less person in the room, a man in a charcoal suit. He was standing by the exit near the floral arrangements. He was there when the preacher began. He's gone now, no one saw him leave. No one even remembers his name, but he was there. You're sure of it. You saw him scratch his neck. You saw him whisper something to the usher, something that made the usher blink like he'd seen a ghost. The air is different now, thicker, humming, the kind of vibration you feel in your teeth, the kind that comes before a scream. The preacher tries to recover, says something about mercy, forgiveness. The old woman stands. It's not fast, it's not dramatic, just slow, deliberate, like she's known this moment would come for decades. She walks down the center aisle and the sound of her shoes, click, pause, click, drags behind her like a chain. People shift again, but no one speaks, not even the preacher, especially not him. She reaches the casket and doesn't look down. She looks up, at them, at us, and then she speaks. I watched him kill my sister. The silence is not human, it is void, it is vacuum, it is terror. She doesn't cry, she doesn't tremble. She tells the story as if it has lived in her bones for too long. A summer in 1962, a dirt road in Louisiana. A white boy in uniform with hands that didn't understand the word no. A girl too young to fight, and a body that was never found. He buried her with the others, the woman says. And then he came up here and made a life from the silence. Someone stands, a man with a cane. Ma'am, this is inappropriate. She turns to him. Do you know what your daddy did in Pine Creek? He sits down. One by one, the faces pale. The stories unravel. Whispers leak through the walls like mold, names, places, dates. Things no one taught their children. Things they hoped would die with him. But the dead do not keep secrets, not forever. And then her phone rings. It's not loud, not angry, just soft. Old ringtone, tinny. She lifts it from her bag, confused. The screen lights up, no caller ID. She answers. For 5 seconds she listens, then she drops the phone. I just heard her voice, she says. My sister. She said my name. People laugh nervously, uneasy, until the phone vibrates again. This time, louder. Everyone sees the screen, a voicemail. The woman picks it up, presses play, her hands shaking for the first time. The voice that comes through is not hers, not the sister's, it's a child. I saw him, he's not in the casket. The phone drops again. Everyone turns to the front of the room. The lid is still closed, but now it feels wrong, like it's holding something it shouldn't, or nothing at all. The preacher steps forward, puts his hand on the lid, hesitates. The air stops. He opens it. The casket is empty. No one screams. Not at first, because they can't. Because something ancient is watching, waiting. And then the door at the back creaks open again, but no one is standing there. Not yet. Only a shadow. Long, thin, familiar. And a voice that speaks just one word, crackling through the speakers with static breath. Remember. Then the lights go out and the truth begins. The lights didn't just go out, they vanished, sucked into some impossible dark that didn't belong in a church. It wasn't night. It wasn't power failure. It was absence. The kind that claws at your breath, the kind that pulls your skin tighter over your ribs. In that moment, no one moved. No one screamed, not because they were brave, but because something inside them told them to stay still, like an instinct buried under 1,000 generations of survival. Don't run. It sees movement. Then the emergency light above the exit sputtered on, dim, red, pulsing. Not constant, not comforting. Each pulse threw shadows long against the pews, shadows that moved in between beats. You swear you saw someone there, just at the edge of the next flicker. A woman? A child? A hand stretched across the aisle, but when the pulse came again, nothing. Just the cold wooden floor and the sound of someone breathing too loud. And then the preacher laughed. It was small, almost like a hiccup, but wrong, too high, too sharp. The old woman turned, slow. What's funny? He looked around as if trying to piece something together, like someone waking from a long dream or falling into one. I remember closing it, he whispered, gesturing weakly toward the casket. I remember placing him inside. I signed the form. I spoke to the coroner. His hands trembled. He was cold. I felt it. God help me, I touched his face, but the casket, still open, remained vacant. The satin lining disturbed, wrinkled like something had been there and left. The kind of impression you don't want to imagine too long. No one knows who made the call. It wasn't loud. It wasn't even a ring. Just a vibration. A low hum that began under one of the pews. Someone reached for it, a teenage boy in a varsity jacket. shaky fingers, more curious than brave. He flipped the phone toward the light. There was no screen, just static, just sound. A whisper, distant, stretched like old tape. You weren't supposed to open it. The boy dropped the phone, stumbled back. The woman in the hat bent slowly, picked it up, pressed it to her ear. Nothing. Silence, and then her own voice, but not live, not real, like a voicemail from another version of her, one she didn't remember leaving. He's not gone. He's just waiting for the silence to settle. Once no one speaks of it, that's when he comes back. She dropped the phone again. Someone finally turned on their flashlight. A blue-white beam scanned the crowd and landed on the man in the charcoal suit, the one who vanished. But it wasn't him. Not exactly. His face was wrong, too smooth, too still, as if sculpted. The same suit, the same posture. But the skin was off, waxy, like a mannequin left too long in heat. Someone whispered, "That's a funeral home, dummy." But the voice cracked halfway through, like they were choking on the lie. Because the eyes moved, the flashlight stuttered, the face flickered. Gone. When the lights finally returned, just flickering fluorescence up above, the body was back in the casket. Everyone froze, mouths open. Someone sobbed into their hands. The old woman sat down hard, like her bones had given up on holding truth anymore. But now no one could agree on anything. Some swore the casket was empty. Others said it had never been. Some remembered the child's voice. Others claimed there'd been no child at all. And still others, like you, noticed something else. The video on your phone. The one you instinctively recorded when things first started unraveling. You play it back in the safety of your car, parked blocks away, engine off, heater humming low like breath on your neck. You hit play. The screen shows everything. The sermon, the silence, the old woman walking forward. But there's no voice, no accusation, no phone call, no empty casket. Just a normal service. Just grief. Just a burial. You rewind. Same. No one's reacting. The guests are listening, solemn, respectful. You look up through the windshield. The church is still there, glowing like a wound in the night. You look down, the video is gone. Just static. And then, your phone buzzes. Unknown number. You answer without thinking. Is this what you wanted? The voice asks. Not aggressive, just tired, familiar. And then the line cuts. You try to call back. No history. You swipe to your voicemails. Just one. Time-stamped from a year ago. Before today. Before you even knew who Bernard Elkins was. It's your voice. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. There's rustling, like someone crying. Then a whisper behind it. I told them not to remember. Your phone dies. You sit there alone, too scared to turn the key. Then someone knocks on the window. 3 soft taps. You look up. It's a man, charcoal suit. Same face, same stillness. Except now. He smiles. Like he's waited a long time for you to remember, and you finally did. The day it all seemed to click, you remember thinking, finally. The puzzle edges fitting together like they were always meant to. You found the file buried deep in the county archives, hidden behind yellowed folders and brittle papers labeled with dates no one cared to revisit. The pages smelled of dust and lost time. The ink faded, but the words sharp enough to slice through decades of silence. Bernard Elkins, it said, wasn't just a man with a polished public life. He was the orchestrator of a cover-up so intricate, it swallowed whole a small town's collective memory. There was a fire, you learned. An orphanage burned to the ground on a cold autumn night in '62. 12 children vanished. No bodies found. Official reports blamed faulty wiring, accidental death. But this file told a different story. One that twisted the known narrative into something darker, something almost unthinkable. You felt the air press in closer as you read about witnesses who suddenly disappeared, about police reports redacted and rewritten, about a hush that fell over Pine Creek like a suffocating fog. And Bernard's name was there, scrawled in a trembling hand on a testimony that had been deemed inadmissible, accused of silencing the orphanage children forever. For a moment, you breathed easier. The mystery was cracked. You had the hidden truth in your hands. You told yourself you weren't crazy, that this wasn't some fractured hallucination. You had the proof that what you'd seen, what you'd heard, was real. You were uncovering the truth behind what no one wants you to remember. The eerie echoes from the funeral, the child's voice, the vanished man, the empty casket, were pieces of this puzzle, woven through time, bleeding into the present from a wound no one had dared to reopen. You thought maybe the supernatural was just a veil, a manifestation of years of trauma and guilt buried so deep it warped the edges of reality. But as the file revealed the past, so too did the past begin to reveal you. The memories you'd forgotten, the moments that felt like glitches in your own mind, moments you'd dismissed as dreams or mistakes. You pulled out a photo tucked inside the folder, a black and white image of the orphanage children, smiling shyly, arms wrapped around each other, innocent faces lit by an unforgiving sun. Then you saw it. Figure standing just beyond the porch, face blurred but unmistakably familiar. It was the man in the charcoal suit, the one who vanished at the funeral, the one who smiled at your car in the night. But in this photo, he wasn't smiling. His eyes were empty holes, staring through time and space, and just beneath the photograph a note in faded ink. He watches, always. The words sent a shiver down your spine, the kind that feels like a warning whispered across years you never lived, but somehow carry inside you. You closed the file and sat back, thinking the worst was over, that the shadows that haunted you could finally be named and faced. But as you stood to leave, the room shifted, a memory glitch you couldn't shake. A whisper on the wind, too low to catch, a flicker at the edge of vision that wasn't there a second ago. You shook your head, telling yourself you were done letting ghosts chase you. That night, as you lay in bed trying to piece together everything, your phone buzzed again. The screen flashed the same unknown number, but this time the caller ID was different. Just one word blinking back at you. Home. You answered. Static, then a voice. A child's voice, soft but urgent. You forgot the last part. You have to remember. He's not done. The line went dead. You sat in the dark, heart pounding, the memory rushing back. Faint, but real. The orphanage fire. The screams you never heard but somehow knew. The eyes of those children pleading to be seen. And something else. Something that had been watching you from the beginning. Not just Bernard, not just the man in the charcoal suit, but something older, deeper, a force threaded through the fabric of every memory glitch, every vanished figure, every whispered warning. A presence that didn't just haunt the past or the present, but the spaces between your thoughts, the cracks in your own mind. You realized then, with a cold clarity that made your skin crawl, that the story you thought you were uncovering wasn't a mystery with an end. It was a loop, a trap where truth and madness tangled so tightly you couldn't tell which was which anymore. And as you lay there, the ceiling above you seeming to breathe with a slow, deliberate pulse, you understood the cruelest twist of all. Everything you'd seen, everything you'd believed, had been leading you somewhere you weren't ready to go. The past wasn't just a memory. It was an unfinished conversation, a shadow reaching through the years, waiting for you to listen closely enough to hear what they don't want you to remember. You had to rewatch it all, because the truth wasn't just hidden. It was hiding in you. You weren't the only one tangled in this web. There are others, shadows flickering behind closed doors, watching you as much as you watch them. In the deep corners of forums nobody talks about, in encrypted chat rooms, seated with half-truths and strange symbols that make no sense until you see them again and again. You find traces. Traces of people who have glimpsed what you're starting to grasp, who feel the same cold pull at the edges of their minds, who carry the same unspoken question burning under their skin. What if none of this was supposed to be remembered? It's as if you've stumbled into a secret conversation happening just beneath the surface of your everyday life, where meaning slips between the cracks like smoke. A cryptic message pops up on your screen one night. No sender, just a series of numbers and letters that somehow rearrange themselves in your mind into a name you'd never heard, but now know you can't forget. You're not crazy. You were right all along. And somehow that knowledge feels less like a victory and more like a sentence. The dreams come next, shared and fractured, overlapping like pieces of found footage from 20 years ago that no one was ever meant to see. You don't know if they're yours or someone else's, but you wake up with a weight on your chest and a name whispered in a voice not your own. Names and places blur and fracture, looping endlessly. A burnt-down orphanage. A man in a charcoal suit. A woman who watches without blinking. And there, carved into your mind, is a symbol. One you catch only in the corner of your eye. A dark sigil half hidden in the shadows of your bedroom wall, or reflected in the screen of your phone when no one else is watching. It's the same symbol others have described in hushed threads online, the kind of thing they say you'll understand, only when it's too late. You begin to question everything, the memories you thought were yours, the faces in photographs, even the sound of your own voice. Who are you if your memories are borrowed? If your identity is just a story edited and rewritten by forces you can't see? The line between self and surveillance blurs, and the feeling that someone, or something, is pulling the strings from behind the veil tightens like a noose. Control isn't just external, it's inside you in the way you think, in the flickers of doubt that poison certainty. And in the deepest silence of this unraveling, a new presence emerges, a third perspective, an observer who doesn't seem to be part of the crowd or the conspiracy, but something else entirely. This figure moves like a shadow with a pulse, an unseen witness documenting the fractures, the lies, the truths buried beneath layers of memory and manipulation. Their voice, when it breaks through, is soft but unyielding, peeling back the facade, with words that cut straight through to the raw nerve of what's really happening. They never wanted you to find this, but you did, and now there's no going back. What the government never released, what history tried desperately to bury beneath official reports and dead ends, is bleeding through the cracks of your reality. And as the threads tighten, the pieces fall into place, but not into a solution, into a warning, into an awakening. The story you thought you were unraveling was only the beginning of a labyrinth you didn't know you were already inside, one where memory is a weapon and identity a battleground. You feel it in every breath, every shadow that moves just beyond your sight, every whisper you can't quite catch but know is meant for you. The screen flickers, the symbol glows faintly in the darkness, and in that charged silence you realize you're not just a witness anymore. You're part of something, far larger, far older, and far more dangerous than you ever imagined. And it's waiting, watching, breathing just behind the next blink of your eyes. The moment you've been running toward, the one you thought would bring clarity, arrives like a slow dawn breaking through thick fog. But instead of light, it brings a raw, aching truth that pierces your chest like a shard of glass you didn't know was there. It's no longer about the what or the who. Those questions have been swallowed by shadows long ago. Now it's the why. Why this story? Why this haunting ripple across time and memory? Why these fragments of pain and silence continue to claw at you, demanding to be understood? And as you stand there, trembling, the weight of it settles. This isn't just about history or hidden forces or conspiracies stitched together in dark rooms. It's about being human. Fragile, flawed, yearning desperately to be seen and remembered, even in the darkest corners where no one dares to look. You feel it deep in your bones, the realization that the truth you've chased might not set you free. It might shatter you, or maybe it will save you, but only if you have the courage to face the full scope of what you've uncovered. That beneath every whisper, every vanished soul, every fractured memory lies a story about love and loss, about fear and forgiveness, about the unbearable weight of silence that we all carry in different forms. The old woman's eyes flash in your mind, wide with the knowledge of a lifetime spent carrying secrets no one asked her to bear. You hear her voice again, soft and raw, confessing a truth she never said out loud. I was the one who turned away. I was the one who stayed silent. I buried more than just bodies. I buried hope. And there it is, the choice laid bare. To keep running from the darkness, to keep burying these truths under layers of denial and fear, or to finally face them, knowing that doing so might unravel everything you thought you knew about yourself, about the world, about the line between nightmare and reality. You realize the mystery isn't a puzzle to be solved. It's a mirror held up to the deepest parts of yourself, reflecting back the parts you've hidden away, the scars you've convinced yourself don't exist. It's an awakening, terrifying and liberating, that forces you to confront not just what happened, but what it means to be alive with memory, with pain, with the desperate need to make meaning out of chaos. The room feels impossibly still as the weight of your choice settles. Time stretches, the walls breathe, and in this moment you understand. Some stories don't have neat endings. They don't offer peace or answers. They ask only for your courage to keep looking, to keep feeling, even when it hurts, even when the truth threatens to undo you. And as you exhale, a whisper curls around you like smoke, barely there but impossible to ignore. Some truths don't want to be found. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for stories you were never meant to hear. Until next time, remember, some truths don't want to be found.